Best thing I have been doing and it been working out so well is just staying in my word, staying focused, staying away from drama completely, just minding my business, reading my word. Cause I got blessed, bro. Y'all ain't even able to see it all I know is the things I can't tell you till it's promoted on my Instagram. So that's the only thing I'm promoting is positivity, Jesus Christ, and basically God's glory all over my life. I'm gonna be honest, 2026 for me started great. And it's going far because I can tell I'm so disciplined. And I lost like 7 to 10 pounds. Everything is like, clearing up for me. Yes, the baby do feel better. So basically this was what happened, bro. So he had that little flu shot, right? Or like vaccines. He ended up getting the actual flu, bro. So I took him to the doctors, then I took him to the hospital. I took him everywhere I could take him, right? You know what they told and they kept telling me, oh, he's fine. Cause I'm giving him cough medicine. They said don't give him cough medicine. We want him to cough it up, cough all the phlegm. So personally, I'm gonna be honest. That was scary for a mama to just see your kid, like basically you can have cough medicine, you can give him cough medicine, but they're telling you not to give it to him. Like his cough was getting out of control.
Nobody saw this coming, and that's exactly why the internet froze mid-scroll. One moment Chrisean Rock is trending for chaos as usual. And the next he hits record and drops an emotional update that made fans collectively whisper, "Wait, what? This wasn't a messy rant, not a turn-up live, not a clapback aimed at Blueface or a subtweet wrapped in Bible verses. This felt different. This felt heavy. This felt like the kind of moment PR teams pray never goes live, the kind of update that turns comment sections into digital crime scenes. Chrisean didn't just speak, she cracked. And when she did, fans immediately went into panic mode. Because suddenly the jokes stopped landing and the memes slowed down, people weren't laughing anymore. They were asking questions, dangerous questions. The kind that make people tag CPS, doctors, lawyers, pastors, and TMZ all in the same sentence. And let's be clear, when the internet goes from trolling to concern in under 10 minutes, something is off. This wasn't reality TV drama. This wasn't Zeus Network chaos. This was raw, emotional, uncomfortable, and confusing in a way that made the Kardashians look like a Disney Channel rerun. Something shifted, something leaked, and once you hear what Chrisean actually said, you'll understand why fans are saying this update changed everything. The moment Chrisean Rock decided to speak, the internet knew this wasn't going to be business as usual. This wasn't a late-night live with loud music, random laughs, and a comment section moving faster than her thoughts. This was slower, quieter, heavy in a way that made people lean closer to their screens like they were overhearing a secret they weren't supposed to catch. When someone who thrives on chaos suddenly sounds careful, alarm bells start ringing. She framed it as an update. But updates are supposed to clarify things. This did the opposite. Her words floated around the issue without landing anywhere solid. Like she was afraid that saying the wrong sentence might set off something irreversible. Fans immediately felt that tension because Chrisean has never been afraid of saying the wrong thing before. That hesitation alone told people this wasn't just another chapter in the circus. This was damage control disguised as vulnerability. The background matters here because this didn't happen in a vacuum. For months, her son has been the quiet center of loud conversations. Clips circulated, screenshots spread, lives got clipped, stitched, reposted, and replayed until they turned into evidence exhibits on TikTok timelines. Every cough, every movement, every moment caught on camera got analyzed like it was part of a medical documentary nobody consented to be part of. Chrisean brushed off concern early on the way only she can, with jokes, deflection, and faith-based reassurance that made critics roll their eyes and supporters clap anyway. She framed concern as hate, curiosity as harassment, and questions as attacks, and for a while, that strategy worked. Fans defended her fiercely, saying the internet didn't deserve access to her child, her life, or her struggles. But even defenders started noticing the tone shift over time, because this update didn't sound like someone in control. It sounded like someone overwhelmed. She talked about the journey like it had aged her overnight, like the chaos finally caught up and demanded payment. Her energy wasn't fiery, it was drained, and nothing scares an audience more than realizing the person they've been laughing with might not be laughing anymore. Almost immediately, comment sections split into factions. One group praised her honesty, saying this was growth, maturity, and motherhood colliding in real time. The other group didn't buy it. They heard omission instead of transparency. They heard emotional fog instead of clarity. And when the internet senses something missing, it doesn't wait politely for answers. It digs. People began pulling up old clips like receipts at tax season. Moments that once felt harmless suddenly looked different under the lens of concern. A laugh here, a dismissal there, a moment where help was suggested and brushed off like lint. The narrative started shifting from leave her alone to why didn't anyone step in sooner? And that's when things get dangerous, because public sympathy can flip faster than a trending sound. This wasn't just about Chrisean anymore. It was about responsibility, accountability, and whether fame has a way of protecting people until it doesn't. Fans started asking questions she didn't answer. Was medical help involved? Was support consistent? Who was actually present behind the scenes? And the silence around those questions spoke louder than any explanation she gave. Then there was the unspoken elephant in the room, Blueface. His absence loomed like a shadow that refused to leave the frame. No statements, no public concern, no visible involvement, just silence. And in internet culture, silence isn't neutral. Silence is interpreted, analyzed, turned into a storyline whether you like it or not. Fans remembered how quickly he's spoken in the past when controversy benefited him. How fast he's gone live to clap back, flex, or control the narrative. The contrast was impossible to ignore. If everything was fine, why was everyone suddenly quiet? Why did this feel like a situation where lawyers, not cameras, were calling the shots as reactions poured in? Even the jokes felt different. Memes circulated, but they carried an edge, less playful, more uncomfortable. Humor became a coping mechanism rather than entertainment. People weren't laughing because it was funny. They were laughing because the alternative felt too serious to sit with. Influencers chimed in without naming names, posting vague captions about motherhood being sacred, children needing protection, and fame complicating responsibility. And anyone pretending those posts were random timing deserves an Oscar. When indirect messages line up that perfectly, it's not coincidence, it's commentary without the lawsuit. What made this update explode wasn't what Chrisean said. It was what she didn't. She didn't reassure with facts. She didn't close the loop. She didn't put the speculation to rest. She left the door cracked open just enough for panic to rush in. And once panic takes over, logic exits the building. The internet thrives on extremes, and this update pushed everyone into one. Either she was a misunderstood mother being unfairly scrutinized, or she was someone in over her head who waited too long to admit it. There was no middle ground. And Chrisean, whether intentionally or not, stood right in the middle of that storm. As the first wave of reaction settled, one thing became clear: this wasn't going away. This update wasn't a conclusion, it was an ignition, and whatever came next was going to be louder, messier, and far more public than anything she dealt with before. Because once the internet stops laughing and starts worrying, the story stops being entertainment. It becomes a reckoning. And Chrisean Rock had just opened the door to one she might not be able to control. Once that update hit the timeline, the internet didn't just react, it detonated. The conversation mutated from concern into full-blown digital hysteria. The kind that doesn't sleep, doesn't wait for facts, and definitely doesn't ask permission. Every clip involving Chrisean and her son suddenly resurfaced like it was summoned by algorithmic witchcraft. Videos from months ago were reposted with new captions, new music, and new meanings slapped onto them like warning labels. Context evaporated. Emotion took over. TikTok turned into a courtroom where everyone was the judge, jury, and loudest lawyer. Threads popped up with titles that screamed urgency, panic, and doom. Even when the evidence was thin, people weren't asking anymore. They were assuming. And assumptions online move faster than truth ever could. Memes followed, because chaos always attracts comedy. But this time the humor felt nervous. Like laughter coming from a room where nobody knows how bad the situation really is. People joked about the internet raising the child collectively, while others fired back saying nothing about this was funny anymore. When jokes start getting scolded instead of shared, you know the tone has shifted. Then came the influencers, not the small ones chasing clout, but the mid-tier voices who know exactly how to say everything without saying anything. Suddenly feeds filled up with cryptic posts about motherhood not being performative, about children not being content, about fame blinding people to reality. No names mentioned. But no confusion either. It was subweek culture at its finest, or worst, depending on how you look at it. And let's talk about celebrity reactions, because silence is loud, but selective commentary is louder. A few well-known figures liked certain posts and ignored others. Screenshots of those likes spread like wildfire, with captions breaking down who stood where as if alliances were being drawn in a digital war. Room, people tracked follows, unfollows, and suspicious timing like it was the Super Bowl of social media analysis. Meanwhile, commentary channels went into overdrive, titles got darker, thumbnails got more dramatic, words like panic, emergency, and disturbing flooded YouTube as creators raced to get their version out first. And every new video didn't calm the situation. It poured gasoline on it. Because once speculation becomes content, there's no incentive to slow down. The wildest part was how fast public opinion kept swinging. 1 hour Chrisean was being defended, fiercely painted as a young mother crushed under unrealistic expectations. The next hour, those same defenders were side-eyeing her silence and asking why nothing concrete had been addressed. The whiplash was unreal. It felt like watching a pendulum snap mid-swing. And then there was Blueface again. Or rather, the absence of him. His name trended without him saying a word, which might be the most powerful kind of presence. People questioned why he wasn't stepping in publicly, why he hadn't shut rumors down, why he wasn't posting reassurance the way he's posted everything else in his life. Every minute of silence added another layer to the narrative. Whether fair or not, comparisons started flying because the internet loves a familiar template. People brought up other celebrity parenting scandals, other moments where public concern crossed into full investigation mode. Names were dropped, old situations were rehashed, and suddenly Chrisean's update wasn't just her story. It was being framed as part of a bigger pattern, a pop culture cautionary tale unfolding in real time. Wild analogies took over timelines. People said this felt like reality TV with the laugh track removed, like a live episode of a show that was never meant to air, like watching a car slow down before a crash you can't stop. Dramatic, absolutely. Effective, completely. Because exaggeration thrives where uncertainty lives. Even the supporters who wanted to defend her found themselves struggling to do it convincingly, not because they didn't want to, but because the update didn't give them enough to work with. There were no clear statements to quote, no definitive reassurances to point to, just emotion. And emotion alone doesn't survive internet scrutiny. Public outrage didn't explode all at once. It simmered, it brewed, It built pressure with every repost and every just asking questions comment. And that kind of outrage is more dangerous than loud anger because it feels justified, it feels rational, it feels like concern. Even when it crosses lines, people started saying the situation felt bigger than social media, bigger than drama, bigger than entertainment. And once the audience stops seeing something as content and starts seeing it as responsibility, the stakes change completely. Brands get nervous, friends get quiet. Legal teams start paying attention. Through all of this, Chrisean stayed mostly. Still, no flood of explanations, no chaotic clapbacks, just minimal presence. And that restraint, whether intentional or forced, only made the noise louder. The internet doesn't like unanswered questions. It fills them in aggressively. By the time the second wave of reactions peaked, one thing was undeniable. This had officially left the realm of messy celebrity gossip and entered something heavier, something more consequential. Reputations were being reshaped in real time. Relationships were being reevaluated publicly. And every move from here on out was going to be scrutinized under a microscope. Because once the internet decides something feels off, it doesn't let go easily. It watches, it waits. And it turns every silence into a statement. And the scariest part wasn't what people were saying. It was how confident they sounded saying it. By the time the noise reached its peak, the story had already changed shape. What began as an emotional update was no longer about reassurance or vulnerability. It had become a referendum on judgment, responsibility, and whether fame had blurred the line between performance and real life beyond repair. The internet wasn't reacting anymore. It was recalculating. Public perception hardened in subtle but dangerous ways. Not outrage exactly, but doubt, the kind that lingers, the kind that doesn't trend loudly but sticks around long after hashtags fade. Fans who once rode hard for Chrisean started speaking in conditional language, defending her if everything is really okay, supporting her as long as she's getting help. That shift matters. Unconditional loyalty quietly became cautious optimism, and cautious optimism is the beginning of distance. Brands noticed. They always do. Nothing was announced publicly, but insiders whispered about hesitation, about optics, about not wanting to be attached to something that felt unresolved. In celebrity culture, uncertainty is poison. Companies don't wait for confirmation, they wait for comfort. And this situation offered none. Relationships didn't. Escape the fallout either. Friends who once appeared publicly went silent. No reposts, no affirmations, no ride or die captions. And silence from allies hits harder than criticism from strangers. It tells the audience something serious is happening behind closed doors. Something conversations are happening about. Just not with microphones on. And then there was Blueface, again looming over the aftermath without ever stepping into it. His continued absence started being interpreted as its own message, not proof of guilt, not proof of innocence, just a vacuum. And vacuums online don't stay empty. They get filled with theories, timelines, and assumptions that feel real enough to convince people they are. Chrisean herself became more guarded, more measured. Almost like someone who realized too late that the internet doesn't forget tone. Shifts every appearance after the update was dissected. Her posture, her expressions, the way she spoke, the things she avoided, nothing went unnoticed. And once someone becomes a subject of scrutiny instead of a personality, everything they do feels like evidence. What hit hardest was how the narrative stopped being about one moment and started becoming about a pattern. Fans talk less about the update itself and more about the accumulation of moments that led there. The missed opportunities to shut things down earlier, the jokes that didn't age well, the decisions that once felt chaotic and entertaining, but now looked reckless under a harsher light. This is where reputations quietly fracture. Not with explosions, but with erosion. One question leads to another. One doubt leads to a dozen more. And suddenly the persona that thrived on unpredictability starts feeling unstable instead of exciting. And that's a dangerous transition for Any public figure, especially one whose brand was built on rawness and rebellion. The internet loves redemption arcs, but it demands structure for them. It wants steps, proof, progress, and without those, it doesn't forgive, it waits, it watches, and it remembers. Chrisean's update didn't close a chapter. It opened a file that people aren't done reading yet. Meanwhile, commentary channels continue to milk the uncertainty because ambiguity is content gold. Every pause became a headline. Every quiet day became, what aren't they telling us? And as exhausting as that cycle is, it works because unresolved stories keep people clicking. And this story remains painfully unresolved. Even supporters began expressing hope instead of confidence, hoping things were being handled privately, hoping help was involved, hoping the internet was wrong this time. Hope is fragile. It doesn't trend well, but it reveals fear better than anger ever could. What makes this aftermath so uncomfortable is that there's no villain the internet can comfortably point to. No single moment to blame, no clean takeaway, just a sense that something important slipped through the cracks while everyone was distracted by chaos, jokes, and spectacle. And that's the real consequence here. Not cancellation, not exile, but a permanent shift in how Chrisean is seen. The lens changed, and once it does, it rarely goes back. This update marked the end of something. Even if nobody knows exactly what yet, the end of carefree messiness. The end of chaos being harmless entertainment. The beginning of accountability conversations that don't disappear with the next viral clip. Because when the audience stops laughing and starts worrying, the show becomes something else entirely. And Chrisean Rock, whether she meant to or not, crossed that line the moment she spoke. What happens next will matter more than anything she's said so far. Silence will be read as avoidance. Noise will be read as spin, and every step forward will be judged against a standard she didn't have before. This isn't the end of the story. It's the point where the story gets heavier, darker, less forgiving. All right, before you click away pretending this didn't just get uncomfortable, let's be very clear about one thing. Stories like this don't disappear. They pause, they mutate, and then they come back louder, messier, and way less forgiving. This wasn't just an update. This was a warning flare shot straight into the sky. And if you've been watching long enough, you already know what usually comes next. Now, I want to hear from you. Was this Chrisean finally being real? Or was this damage control wrapped in emotion? Do you think the internet crossed the line? Or did concern turn serious for a reason? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation isn't happening quietly anymore, and the comment section is where the real debate starts. And don't play shy with that like button. Smash it like it owes you money, like it ghosted you after 3 good dates, like it just pretended not to see you in public. That one click tells the algorithm we're not done talking about this. If you're new here, hit subscribe right now, because scandals don't knock before they drop. They just show up, uninvited, loud, and impossible to ignore. And when they do, this is where they get broken down, stripped of the filters, and served with zero mercy. Because today, it's an emotional update. Tomorrow it's leaked messages. Next week it's a reaction nobody expected. The cycle never stops, and neither do we. Stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, when the internet goes quiet, that's usually when the real story is loading. This is celeb insanity, where the mess doesn't end. It escalates.